The Hubble telescope flew into space over 3 decades ago and served as an excellent resource for observing the universe. Although the Hubble telescope is nearing its retirement, it's still pumping out some brilliant images, so much so that NASA is looking to extend the work shift for the probe. Let's talk about the Hubble telescope. First on the table is the Hubble Space Telescope's new discovery. Although NASA's Hubble Space Telescope isn't as cutting edge as the James Webb Space Telescope, it still has a lot to offer. Since its launch in 1990, the Hubble telescope has made some remarkable discoveries. The latest on the list is a stunning new image of 2 galaxies that meet in the middle. This picture is part of an ongoing collection that NASA is putting together of interesting galaxies they hope to study in the future. The release of these new images from the Hubble shouldn't come as a surprise, given that NASA and SpaceX have been discussing ways to restore the telescope's orbit. After NASA retired the SOFIA telescope, we'll be especially eager to use any new information we can get from the Hubble and James Webb Space Telescope. That's why the new images from Hubble of 2 galaxies colliding are so significant. Not only is the image beautiful, but it is also part of NASA's ongoing collection of interesting galaxies it hopes will draw researchers' attention. The aim of this collection is to study more about the dust that makes up galaxies and how they interact when galaxies collide. The ESA says it's difficult to decide what project Hubble should observe and how much time should be given to that project. The process is long, competitive, and hard all around. So these observations are given to every second of observation time that the agency can squeeze out of it. Moving on to the images themselves. In a new picture from NASA's famous Hubble Space Telescope, 2 faraway spiral galaxies are seen to overlap. The galaxies imaged by the probe are more than 1 billion light-years away from Earth, according to a statement from the European Space Agency, ESA. An observatory partner, the new Hubble Space Telescope view makes it look like the 2 galaxies are merging. However, this is just an optical illusion, and the galaxies aren't actually interacting with each other at all. As seen by Hubble, the chance alignment of the 2 galaxies gives a stunning view of the closer galaxy spiral arms stretching out on both sides. The recent photo was made using data from the Space Agency's Galaxy Zoo project. This citizen science project started in 2007 and asked hundreds of thousands of people to help classify galaxies. NASA called the images a snapshot. NASA takes snapshots whenever Hubble is not actively tracking a target, and because Hubble's time is limited and very popular, these snapshots help take advantage of the changes in the targets. NASA can then examine these images, such as one of the 2 galaxies that cross each other, and determine whether it needs to focus more on it. NASA also just released an image of what a James Webb and Hubble team-up might look like, and the results were outstanding. That leads us to the possible James Webb and Hubble team-up. NASA has put out a new picture of a pair of galaxies called VV191. The image is beautiful, but what makes it truly special is that it is based on data from both the James Webb Space Telescope and the Hubble Space Telescope. This shows that a team-up between Webb and Hubble could give researchers more in-depth data to look into. The infrared data that James Webb has become famous for was used to make the picture. With this information, James Webb can look deeper into the Orion Nebula and even further back into the early days of the universe. When added to the ultraviolet and visible light captured by Hubble, it shows how important it is to keep Hubble running so that James Webb and Hubble can work together. We, for one, would love to see the 2 reveal secrets of the unknown by combining their data. NASA says that the image shows even more details about how the 2 galaxies are interacting with each other and with the galaxies around and beyond them. With its infrared instruments, James Webb could get a better picture of the long, dusty spiral arms it saw. Although it's not confirmed if this team-up can produce the expected results, NASA is confident that if we could use data from both James Webb and Hubble to make more images like these, we could see the universe in a new way. That brings us to SpaceX and NASA's current plans for the Hubble. NASA is teaming up with SpaceX and billionaire astronaut Jared Isaacman to study ways to extend the life of the famous Hubble Space Telescope. NASA signed an agreement with the two companies to look into the possibility of using a SpaceX spacecraft to dock with the telescope and change its orbit, so its retirement date could be pushed back. Hubble does love its job. During a press call, NASA's head of science, Thomas Zurbuchen, said that SpaceX discussed the idea with NASA a few months ago. Zurbuchen claimed Hubble is doing great and it's healthy. NASA thinks the Hubble telescope will be retired by the end of this decade because of the decline in its orbit. The agency believes Hubble could work for another 15 to 20 years if it moved to a higher altitude, closer to where it was when it first entered space. According to Zurbuchen, it makes perfect sense for the companies to look into raising Hubble's orbit, as Hubble is still a valuable asset to uncover the mysteries of the universe. The agreement between NASA and SpaceX doesn't involve any transfer of funds, and SpaceX is paying for its own participation. NASA will collect technical data from Hubble, while SpaceX tests how its Crew Dragon capsule could dock with the telescope. Even though the study doesn't guarantee a mission to Hubble, Isaacman said that a flight would certainly fit within the parameters they've set for the Polaris program. The study is estimated to take 6 months, so we'll just have to wait and see. Next up, the Dragon Crew mission. NASA is looking to use the Dragon spacecraft from SpaceX to extend the life of the Hubble telescope for another 20 years. This will give the agency more time to observe the universe and figure out how to reduce space junk. Elon Musk's private space company and NASA signed the Space Agreement Act. NASA will start a study to see if the Dragon spacecraft can be used to nudge the Hubble into a higher, more stable orbit to extend its life cycle. The agency said that hiring Musk's company would save the government millions, if not billions of dollars in research and development costs. This study is an exciting opportunity for NASA to experiment with new ideas through private-public partnerships. SpaceX asked for 6 months from NASA to develop a plan and figure out how to execute the Hubble mission. Jared Isaacman, a billionaire astronaut, will also work on the project as part of the Polaris program, a privately funded space project. Zurbuchen added, as the number of missions increases, they want to narrow down the support to the strongest and best science missions. The Hubble has been in space for 32 years, and NASA had planned to take it down in 2030 after putting its replacement, the James Webb Telescope, into place. And if the Dragon Crew mission is successful, NASA can get an estimated 20 more years out of Hubble and more time to figure out the space junk situation, which has become a big problem over the years. But the Dragon Crew isn't the only mission NASA has planned with SpaceX. That leads us to other NASA and SpaceX missions. NASA recently announced that the agency has given Elon Musk's SpaceX a contract for 5 more astronaut missions worth an extra $1.4 billion. The extra flights are part of NASA's Commercial Crew program, which sends astronauts and cargo to and from the International Space Station. SpaceX is currently sending a person into space for the 4th time for the agency. Under Commercial Crew, SpaceX's Crew Dragon spaceship has been competing with Boeing's Starliner capsule for contracts. Both SpaceX and Boeing have been given nearly $5 billion to build and launch their own space capsules. However, SpaceX has won 14 missions, while Boeing has only won 6. Because NASA's contracts for the program had fixed prices, Boeing had to pay an extra $688 million because of delays and extra work on the capsule. Since the unmanned Starliner flight to the International Space Station in May was a success, the company is planning to launch its first mission with astronauts in February 2023. NASA plans to send astronauts to the International Space Station until at least 2030, and NASA even acquired President Joe Biden's permission to stay involved with the space station for another 6 years, Past 2024, no one knows yet how NASA and any other ISS partners will fill in operational gaps left by the Russians, like boosting the space station every so often to keep it at the right height above Earth. For now, all we can do is wait for NASA to release its objectives for the space station. That's a wrap for this video. Let us know your thoughts on NASA's decision on the Hubble. As always, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. See you in the next one.